I am calling to order this hearing or roundtable. This is a public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I am Phil Mendelson, Chairman of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Friday, July 7th, 2023. The time is 11:09 in the morning. And this hearing or roundtable is being held in room 500, the council chambers of the Johnny Wilson building. This hearing is to consider two measures that were introduced in the council. The first is PR 25-318, which is entitled The Employment Contract of Dr. Maurice D. Eddington as President of the University of the District of Columbia, Emergency Approval Resolution of 2023. This legislation was introduced at the request of the University of the District of Columbia or the request of the trustees of the University of the District of Columbia on June 30th, which is a week ago. And the stated purpose of this legislation is for the council to approve the employment contract submitted by the University of the District of Columbia Board of Trustees for the appointment of Dr. Maurice D. Eddington as president. I believe it's for a 4-year term. The roundtable will serve as an opportunity for the committee to hear from constituents, students, faculty, and others with regard to the fitness of Dr. Eddington to serve as the university's president. The measure is before us because it's a multi-year contract, and multi-year contracts require council approval. It is not for us, however, to confirm the appointment, just the contract. We will then move to a second measure, which is PR 25-299, Public Charter School Board Shukurat Adamo Fanayan confirmation, and I'm just sorry that I don't get that right. Confirmation Resolution of 2023. This legislation was introduced at the request of the mayor on June 21st, 2023, and it would confirm the reappointment of Ms. Adamo Fanayan as a member of the District of Columbia Public Charter School Board. She was first appointed to the Public Charter School Board in February 2022 to assume a vacant seat or vacated seat with 1 year left in the term. This roundtable will serve as an opportunity for the committee to hear from the community regarding the her fitness to continue her service on the Public Charter School Board for a 4-year term. The record for this hearing will close at 5 p.m. on Monday, July 10th. That's this coming Monday. Will close at 5 p.m. on Monday. I want to explain a little bit more about the hearing. The two measures are completely unrelated, except that my intent was that both would be put on the legislative agenda for next Tuesday's meeting. With regard to the employment contract, Dr. Eddington, his term is going to begin, I believe, August 2nd. The council is on recess from July 15th to September 15th. It would be good for us to approve the contract before he starts his term. So even though we received this only a week ago, I think it's important to have a hearing so that there is an opportunity for comment, some public notice, and then that we will proceed on next Tuesday. The intent was similar with regard to Ms. Adamo Fanayan being reappointed to the Public Charter School Board. However, this is going to sound worse than it is. We received this late enough that our notice requirements are such that it can't be considered by the council next Tuesday, which is unfortunate because the Public Charter School Board, its vacancies are large enough that it will barely have a quorum for the next couple of months. But we are unable to act next Tuesday. However, with this hearing, we'll be able to act as quickly as possible in September when we come back from recess. So there is, even though the record will officially close on Monday, there's a longer opportunity for public to comment if they wish on her appointment. So that's why these two unrelated measures are here at this hearing, because originally the intent was both would be considered by the council next Tuesday. I'm still interested in hearing the testimony from everybody. And with that, let's proceed with the witnesses. I'm going to ask the first two witnesses to come forward. That would be Christopher Bell, who's the chair of the University of the District of Columbia Board of Trustees, and Dr. Eddington, who's the president designee of the University of the District of Columbia. Good morning. Why don't you proceed?
Good morning, Chairman.
I'm not sure your microphone's on. I know it's been a while. Just hit the button, it'll be red, and
Okay.
that's red means
There.
go.
Okay.
The council
Can you hear
does it differently. Red means go.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman Mendelson and council members. My name is Christopher Bell, and I'm Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia. I'm here today to discuss the approval of the employment contract for the selection of the University of the District of Columbia's newest president. The Board of Trustees concluded its executive search for the next president of UDC with the unanimous selection of Dr. Maurice Eddington as the new president at our June 2023 meeting. Dr. Eddington will succeed Ronald Mason, who served as president of UDC since 2015. Dr. Eddington's presidency becomes effective on August 1st, 2023. The first major step in the process to find UDC's next president was to select a search firm. A request for proposals was issued by UDC's Office of Contracts and Procurement in August of 2022, and UDC received 5 proposal submissions. Greenwood, Asher and Associates, a full-service search firm founded in 2004, was selected from the RFP process. Some of the criteria used to select Greenwood included Greenwood's prior success with presidential and other executive searches, demonstrated understanding of equity, diversity, and inclusion issues in higher education, and the firm's proposed approach to conducting the search according to our delineated timeline. The UDC presidential search took place over the course of the 2022-2023 academic year. Following the selection of Greenwood, the UDC Presidential Search Committee was formed. This search committee was co-chaired by Dr. Elaine Kreider, former chairperson of the UDC Board of Trustees, and Mignon Clyburn, former Federal Communications Commission chair and currently serving as the vice chair of the Board of Trustees. The search committee included representatives from numerous constituencies. Joining co-chair Dr. Kreider and co-chair Clyburn on the search committee were the following individuals: Dr. Andrea Adams, who was then the interim president of the Faculty Senate, Ms. Maria Bird, who serves as Associate Vice President, Office of Planning and Institutional Effectiveness, Ken Grossinger, who is on the UDC Board of Trustees, Dr. Tanya Harris, who was the then student representative to the Board of Trustees, Ms. Renee Hutchins, who is currently the Dean of the University of the Maryland Francis King Carey School of Law, but served previously as the Dean of the UDC David A. Clark School of Law, Dr. Paul Kine, District of Columbia's Deputy Mayor of Education, Eugene Kinlaw, alumni and former member of the UDC Foundation, Dr. Marilyn Hamilton, who is the UDC Community College Dean, and Dr. Devdas Shetty, who is the Dean of the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. The search committee was charged with the following: establishing the skills and characteristics of the next president of UDC would need to be successful, working with UDC stakeholder groups, developing the search schedule, placing announcements, reviewing applications, and conducting initial interviews, presenting finalists for the position to the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees presented 3 finalists for the position of president to the UDC community. Each of the candidates visited the campus and participated in forums with students, deans, faculty, and staff. Each candidate was also interviewed by the UDC Foundation and representatives from AFSCME Local 2087 Union. These forums provided UDC stakeholders the opportunity to meet the finalists, ask questions, and provide written feedback to the Board of Trustees. Dr. Eddington was selected from a candidate of over 75 applicants to be our next UDC president. As noted above, Dr. Eddington's selection was unanimous. Dr. Eddington comes to UDC from Florida A&M University, FAMU, where he has served since 1998. In his current position at FAMU, Dr. Eddington serves as Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, where he had responsibility for all matters pertaining to academic programs, activities, services in the 14 colleges and schools of FAMU, including overseeing all institutional and specialized accreditation service activities. He has held that role since 2022. Prior to that, he has served in many roles at FAMU, each of increasing importance, including the following: Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Vice President for Strategic Planning, Analysis, and Institutional Effectiveness, Dean of Science and Technology, and Chair of the Department of Chemistry. Dr. Eddington is a proven, highly motivated, and accomplished higher education professional who is exceptionally and uniquely suited to build upon the successes that UDC has achieved under President Mason's tenure. He will bring more than 25 years of experience in higher education, administration, and science fields to UDC. He has many distinguished accomplishments, including the following. He's managed an annual operating budget of $99 million for 9,200 students and over 500 faculty. He's led reorganization of student success units within the Division of Academic Affairs and Student Affairs. He increased the four-year graduation rates by 6 percentage points. He increased freshman retention by 14 percentage points. He increased licensure exam pass rates in law by 10%, in pharmacy 8%, and in physical therapy by 13%. He's launched new degree programs in cybersecurity and material science and engineering, and he has published more than 20 publications on advanced science topics, as well in well-regarded science journals and books. Dr. Eddington has secured over $12 million in research funding from various federal and state agencies, including the National Science Foundation, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, NASA, and the National Nuclear Security Administration. He also was the chief strategist for initiatives designed to improve FAMU's performance on Florida's performance-based funding model. FAMU achieved its highest scores to date in 2021 and 2023 under his leadership. Dr. Eddington has earned his Bachelor of Arts in Chemistry in 1992 from Fisk University. He earned his Doctor of Philosophy in Physical Chemistry in 1997 from Vanderbilt University. And he also completed postdoctoral studies at Duke University, where he was a National Institutes of Health National Research Service Award postdoctoral fellow. Dr. Eddington is an outstanding scholar and administrator. The UDC Board of Trustees believe his scholarship, administrative expertise, and understanding of issues in higher education make him uniquely qualified to be the next president of UDC. Chairman Mendelson, I urge you to approve and respectfully request the council's favorable consideration of the employment contract between the University of the District of Columbia Board of Trustees and Dr. Maurice Eddington. I'm available to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Dr. Eddington?
Thank you, and good morning. Chairman Mendelson, UDC Chairman Bell, members of the community of the whole, present staff, greetings. I am Maurice Eddington, President Designee of the University of the District of Columbia. I am pleased to have an opportunity to offer testimony on my background and qualifications to serve as the university's 10th president. I spent most of my childhood living in Berkeley, California, prior to attending college at Fisk University, where I earned a Bachelor of Arts in Chemistry. I then obtained a PhD in Physical Chemistry from Vanderbilt University and subsequently worked as a postdoctoral research associate at Duke University. As you've heard, I spent the last 25 years working in various faculty and administrative capacities at Florida A&M, where most recently I served as Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer. In that role, I was second in command, served as the President's Chief Advisor, and had responsibility for guiding strategy for vice presidents and other senior administrators to improve outcomes on key performance indicators and sustain operational excellence. My other administrative duties included 4 years serving as Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Vice President for Strategic Planning, Analysis, and Institutional Effectiveness, Founding Dean of the College of Science and Technology, Chair of the Department of Chemistry, and Director of the Office of Engineering and Science Support. During my professional career, I've also worked diligently to establish a productive research program in the areas of laser chemistry and STEM education. I have secured and managed several $1 million in research funding, and I have mentored and trained dozens of undergraduate and graduate students in my research laboratory. I would like to share with enormous pride that being selected as the 10th president of the University of the District of Columbia is the highlight of my professional career. I sought this role because the UDC mission aligns with my passion and commitment to serve students, transform lives, and uplift communities. As a former first-generation student from a low-income, single-parent household, my life exemplifies the critical role that historically Black universities, such as UDC, play in providing opportunities for educational advancement and social mobility to members of underserved populations. Consequently, I have an intense passion for these institutions and a firm belief that they continue to play an important role in the higher education landscape. As UDC president, I will expand my commitment to service by advancing the UDC mission, which is focused on responding to the needs of DC residents and producing lifelong learners. In my preparation for this role, which officially begins on August 1st, I am already beginning to establish a comprehensive understanding of UDC's current challenges and opportunities as well as a clear vision of how I will help the university fulfill its role and mission. These efforts will depend upon collaboration with the district government, the Board of Trustees, the university community, and external stakeholders. Under my leadership, UDC will enhance its status and reputation as the district's only public university and the nation's only exclusively urban land-grant university. I will assemble and lead a highly talented administrative team who I will hold accountable for addressing the university's strategic priorities and meeting established goals. I will leverage my professional experiences and achievements to implement aggressive and innovative strategies to advance the UDC mission. Top areas of focus for my administration will include student success, enrollment, degree and credential production, training and support for faculty and staff, fiscal integrity, economic development, academic and workforce alignment, external relations, and fundraising. In summary, I want to thank you, Chairman Mendelson, and the rest of the council for your consideration. It is my hope that you determine my diverse experience and strong commitment to service make me a suitable candidate for the position of the president of the University of the District of Columbia. It would be an extreme honor to lead UDC in fulfilling its vital mission to deliver exceptional teaching, research, and service. Thank you for the opportunity to share this testimony. I'm happy to answer any questions that you or your committee members may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eddington. Thank you to both of you. I should have recognized my colleague, Matt Fruman, for an opening statement. I didn't. I'm going to recognize you now. If you have any questions or statement, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chairman Mendelson. I don't so much have any questions. I think I want to just take this opportunity to gush because I am so excited about where UDC is going. I think you can't talk about UDC without talking about the incredible service of President Mason, who has really done a fabulous job. And you have big shoes to fill and big shoulders to stand on. You described, Chair Bell, the process of selection, and you got to, there was a time when you circulated the resumes of all of the candidates. And I have to say, Dr. Eddington, when I read your resume, I was floored. I mean, you are perfect. The idea that you were at FAMU for 25 years and worked up through so many different levels, really learning the institution at every level and rising to be the executive vice president just blew me away. And the loyalty to the institution, the commitment, and the steady rise, just so impressive.
Thank you.
I think that we are incredibly fortunate to have you. I'm very excited to bring you on board. I will tell you, context here is I represent the part of the city where the flagship campus is. And that's a very important campus. And it's very important for the city, and it's very important for the community that I represent as well. UDC is important in all corners of the city, and you clearly get that. And that's and I want to be a partner with you in support of UDC citywide and on the flagship campus, perhaps particularly, which sits in my ward. So I don't have any questions but I did want to come today to say how excited I am to have you coming on side and how excited I am about the future of the University of the District of Columbia. President Mason did a fabulous job bringing us to where we are. There's a lot more we can do. He knows that, you know that, and I hope we can work together to bring UDC to its full potential.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember. I do have a few questions. Can you explain how well or what more could happen to make the transition smooth and effective and successful?
Yeah, thank you for that. You know, I think we're off to a good start. I think one of the things that would be helpful as we work to complete my transition to DC and then starting work on August 1st is for me to have opportunities, as you and others have offered, is to connect on a one-on-one basis for sure. One of the things I want to do is have time to understand with respect to the council members, what some of your individual interests and priorities are for the institution. And then also have an opportunity to share some preliminary thoughts about where I want to work with the team to take the institution. So for me, that would probably be the biggest thing, is just really having that time to connect. And Chairman, you've been very gracious in reaching out to me, as well as Councilmember Freeman. So I look forward to taking advantage of those opportunities.
Within the university, transition is going as well as. you
Yeah, it's
need?
actually going well. So one of the things that we started doing is we scheduled a series of one-on-one meetings with me and several members of the leadership team. And we've kicked those off. I've had at least 10 one-on-one meetings thus far, and I've got another round slated for the next week or two. So I'm using those opportunities to, one, learn about the roles of those individuals, giving them an opportunity to get to know me and my vision. And most importantly is helping me to understand the institution. So we're well on the way with those transition planning activities.
So you've been at Florida A&M, and I'm not quite sure how to phrase this question, and it's not written, so I have to kind of make this up. How would you compare or contrast the two institutions? What's good that you're going to bring with you? Or what challenges do you see that Florida A&M, that experience is going to help you with?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, there are some obvious similarities between the two institutions in terms of structure, both public institutions, both centered in a mission to serve underrepresented populations, and a strong commitment to those students and those student populations. Also very similar just in terms of governance from a general perspective. You know, in my mind, the way I've started thinking about the structure is, you know, in our system, we have a legislature and a governor. To me, at this point, you're my state legislature, right? I have a lot of experience interacting with that body in certain capacities. And so there's some similarities. I think in terms of things that I've learned at that institution and things I can bring here, and we have spent a lot of time on not enrollment growth. There is not as much of a priority these days as student success is. Our system put in a performance-based funding model several years ago, and that put a premium on student outcomes. And so I, for the last several years, have been charged with leading our efforts to address our priorities in that area and to move the needle in a positive direction on student success outcomes. And so I'm bringing a lot of that experience to the table here because that's an opportunity for us at UDC to get better, to improve the student experience, to improve student success outcomes, and then also thinking about strategic enrollment growth and improving degree production at the different degree levels. And so those are things from my background that align, I think, well with some of the critical needs that we have at the institution. And then I think kind of another part of your question implied is an incredible opportunity for me. So this is a growth opportunity for me as well. One of the things that I got really excited about this opportunity is the uniqueness of the institution, the city, the governance structure. That's very exciting to me. For example, having an opportunity to engage with you all, I'll give you my legislature analogy. It's more difficult to interact in Florida, right, with the governing bodies. So it's a much more intimate relationship here. And so I look forward to taking advantage of those opportunities I have to partner with you all to lead the institution.
You piqued my interest. Florida A&M was performance-based funding?
Yeah, so so Florida A&M is part of the state university system of Florida. We have 12 public institutions in that system. So back around 2014, 2015, our state system adopted a performance-based funding model. It includes 10 metrics, 10 student success metrics, and each institution is evaluated annually on how we perform under that model. Each metric has a rating scale, and you get up to 10 points per metric. And so essentially, we get rated against each other under that model every year. And if we meet performance thresholds, we are allocated additional investments from the state. And so for AMU, as an example, we initially were not performing well when the model was implemented. And we doubled down and focused on retention, graduation rates, employment outcomes, and made a lot of progress under the model. And have gotten over, I think now we just got another 15 million allocation this year. So we've gotten over $60 million in the last 4 or 5 years But what it's done is it's made accountability in our system a premium. We're all held accountable for those outcomes. And so that's been my world for the last 5 or 6 years, is operating under that model and helping to work with our team on campus to improve the outcomes on those 10 metrics.
I think that's important. Thank you. From your limited experience, what do you see as the greatest challenges for UDC?
I would probably say, at least initially, student enrollment and student success. I would say, obviously, we're all aware of the COVID related enrollment declines, across higher ed. And it's obvious that UDC has experienced similar challenges there. And so I think that's one of the greatest things, because I think if you can get the enrollment up, improve the student experience, and improve student success outcomes, many benefits grow from that in other areas of the campus. So that's where I'm going to spend the bulk of my initial energy, working with the team to really be creative, aggressive, and innovative around that challenge. It's growing enrollment and improving success outcomes.
Short term, do you see some changes that need to be made?
Yeah, well, I think so. I couldn't tell you now a set of specific changes. I can tell you in general, we each have our own way of thinking and operating as leaders. And I have a clear vision in my head about how I think we can best be positioned to function at a high level. And so I'm looking at the organizational structure, and looking at how we currently do things and aligning that with my vision and experience. And so I certainly expect to make some enhancement and some modifications to the structure and way of operating that fit more in line with what not just what I think we should have in place based on my experience, but also to align with the aggressive approach I think we need to take in several areas. And those one-on-one meetings that I mentioned earlier, those are helping me to get sufficient background about how we operate to inform my decision-making about things I want to change.
I will say, I think enrollment is one of the great challenges for the university. And I like what you were saying with regard to focusing on student success. I mean, that's what the university is about, right? Is student success. So I like those two priorities. Dr. Bell or Mr. Bell?
Mr. Bell's fine.
Everybody's doctor at universities, even if they're not. And what's before us is a contract. In negotiating that contract, how did the university look at other universities or contracts? Just say something about a comparative analysis.
Well, in negotiating this contract.
Put your microphone on.
Oh, I'm so sorry. In negotiating Dr. Eddington's contract, we were focused on the constraints that are imposed on the university in terms of what we're able to offer, looking at President Mason's contract, but also wanted to create opportunities for success for Dr. Eddington. So what we did was focus on opportunities that would promote that. So in his contract, you'll see that he has the opportunity to go to Harvard President's Training. That'll be next year to do that. We've encouraged him to pursue opportunities for personal development as well to make sure that he aligns with success. In terms of looking at other universities, because we're so unique, I don't know that we were able to look and gain materially from other contracts, but what we tried to do was make sure we were maximizing his success and building off the contract that we had with Ron to make sure that that would happen.
Okay. Sure. Councilmember, have I piqued your interest in any other questions?
Well, I hate to say you haven't piqued my interest, but I think I'm good. Okay, I'm very excited.
Okay, thank you. I have no more questions for you. Thank you, each of you. If there's anything else you think of that you want to give us before we vote on Tuesday, please do that. That would be helpful. Otherwise, I want to thank you, welcome Dr. Eddington, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
I'm going to call the next two witnesses, Leah Kusi, who is a member of the District of Columbia Public Charter School Board, and Shukarat Adamo Fanayan, who is the nominee for reappointment. And as I indicated, we won't be voting on this next Tuesday, but because of this hearing, we'll vote on it as quickly as we can in September. This is for reappointment for a term to end February 24th, 2027. He is on Zoom. Before you all say anything. I'm told that Leah Cruzy is on Zoom, so we're trying to find her. She's somewhere in the Ethernet. You're up, Ms. Cruzy. Why don't you proceed? And good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Mendelson, Councilmember Fruman, and members of the committee as a whole. I am Leah Cruzy, Chair of the DC Public Charter School Board. I want to thank you for holding this hearing today and allowing me to testify and to testify remotely in support of the renomination of Shakura Adama-Fanian. And I would like to thank Mayor Bowser for putting forward her renomination. DC PCSB is the sole public charter school authorizer in DC. Over the last year, Ms. Adama-Fanian voted on policies to ensure families in the district have access to high quality and equitable educational opportunities. She has proven herself to be devoted to the students and communities of DC's public charter schools throughout her career and in her time on the board. Our mission, vision, and strategic roadmap puts student success front and center, and I feel strongly that Ms. Adama-Fanian has demonstrated a steadfast commitment to students as a board member. She brings her perspective as a subject matter expert, including as a former classroom educator, a local nonprofit leader in literacy, and as a school leader to all the decisions we must make as we evaluate school performance and review agreements with public charter schools. Her work as a board member reflects her commitment to the community and her readiness to bring more equity to our policies, processes, and practices. The board is currently looking forward to another school year, and we will hold multiple important votes in the coming months. We will vote on DC PCSB's comprehensive charter goals policy, revisions to our accountability framework, and 7 LEA reviews and renewals this upcoming school year. Ms. Adama-Fanian's experience and perspective will be crucial as we make these important decisions. For these reasons, I ask that you vote to confirm Shakura Adama-Fanian to the board. Thank you again for allowing me to testify before you today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Cruzy. I have just one question, and that is, can we get a copy of your statement, please?
Certainly, and I have not earned the opportunity to be called a doctor, but I appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
yes, we'll make sure we get this test.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Adama-Fanian?
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Mendelson, Councilmember Fruman. I want to thank you and thank the council for the opportunity to share my experience and how I intend to continue to lend my knowledge, perspective, and skills to the DC Public Charter School Board. Before I begin my testimony, I would like to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser for the nomination reappointment rather, or nomination to be reappointed to serve as a DC Public Charter School Board member. Again, greetings. I am Shakura Adama-Fanian, and as a Washingtonian, I'm proud of my Nigerian heritage and the education that I received from the District of Columbia Public School System. Growing up in Northeast DC and now residing in the Fort Stanton neighborhood in the Great Ward 8, it truly has given me a passion for education and a deep commitment to the young people in our city. My experiences in DC public schools and various enrichment activities, various professional roles throughout the city have made me aware of the different experiences that shape the future of young people in our city. And especially now as a mother to a 3-year-old, this is truly an important time for me. During my time at the University of New Orleans, while studying political science, I volunteered as a tutor for high school students who were struggling academically and feeling disheartened. This experience was saddening and frustrating as it reminded me of my childhood friends who faced similar challenges. Unfortunately, some of them thought that their dreams were unattainable. This realization fueled my passion for ensuring that every child has equal access to excellent education and opportunities, enabling them to achieve their desired life path. I gained professional opportunities through exposure to various educational options and developed a deeper understanding and enthusiasm for achieving educational equity. Over the past decade, I have served in various education and nonprofit management positions. I started my career off as a 5th grade math and science teacher, and I've since honed my expertise in leadership, strategy development, budget management, relationship building, and team cultivation. My passion for education drives me to volunteer in the district and to study education ecosystems across the country. I currently serve as the Chief of Campus Experience at the Jeremiah Program, a national organization dedicated to supporting single mothers and their children to break the cycle of poverty. As part of my role, I work closely with executive directors to ensure that the program's 2-generation mission is being fulfilled. This includes ensuring that executive directors are building relationships with local champions. Just keep going. Okay. Advocates, partners, and donors, and maintaining community partnerships. I also oversee all campus operations and manage financial and development goals. To that end, and in my desire to serve as a board member of the DC Public Charter School Board, I really do see this as an opportunity to continue to hold the public charter school sector accountable to those they serve through the oversight and authority outlined in the School Reform Act. Offering my perspective to DC PCSB, I intend to maintain the high bar of transparency, accountability, and innovation set by the members who have served before me, and to engage in collaborative efforts to see every sector of our education system improve for all children of the district. To close, I regard my day-to-day work with Jeremiah Program and service on this board as a commitment to my daughter, former students, their children, my neighbors, and the city I so deeply love. I will continue to work to ensure that every child receives the quality and equitable education they deserve, no matter what ward they reside in the city. I appreciate being considered for this responsibility and welcome any questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I do have a few questions for you. At hearings on nominees, I always ask these questions, and some of them may have been in the pre-hearing questions that we've sent you. And hold on a second. I was stalling because I was looking for the answer. So we sent you pre-hearing questions, you've answered them. And so I want to thank you for getting those back to us. One of the questions I ask, even though you answered, I always ask it at a hearing of nominees, are you current in your taxes and other liabilities to the district and federal government?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And the second question. So you've served on the board for over a year. You have a sense of the time commitment. Do you have that time commitment for this new term?
I do.
And the third question I ask is, have you at any point had a conflict of interest, or is it possible that you could have a conflict of interest at some point in a matter that comes before the board?
So when I was the executive director for Reading Partners DC, I did with some of the schools that we partnered with. Absolutely, I recused myself from any matters concerning those schools. But in my new position, we are not based in Washington, DC, so I actually have no conflict of interest or any issues to resolve or recuse myself from.
But when there was the possibility, you did recuse yourself.
1000%, yes.
Thank you. This was in the pre-hearing questions, but I'm going to ask this of you anyway. What challenges do you see for either the board or the charter sector? I treat that as two questions.
Absolutely. And again, I did provide an answer to it, but I'll provide a summary of what I stated here. As we are emerging from COVID and we are coming into this new normal, I think our schools are faced with really thinking about how to ramp up student achievement, how to deal with this new normal, thinking a lot about teacher and staff retention, and then also to the establishment of our new accountability framework that will soon come. And so all of those things, as the talented and capable staff of DC Public Charter School Board, as they work together and host roundtables and conversations with school leaders to partner to create solutions. I really do think that the board is going to be charged with, one, continuing to ensure that there's meaningful engagement with all stakeholders, and then two, ensuring that we're holding our schools to the highest level of accountability regarding student outcomes. Those are the biggest challenges that I believe we're faced with in the next few years, just to get our students back on track.
Is there any one or two particular goals that you would have for the new term?
One, I'd love to see, again, that new accountability framework established and make it something that our schools are excited about, but more importantly, that really continues to drive our students towards success. And so that is what I'm excited about. And then two, again, excited to see student achievement grow. And so partnering with schools and asking questions, providing the oversight to ensure that they are creating plans to ensure that that's happening.
This isn't specifically regarding the Public Charter School Board, but your new role, your new day job.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit more about how it's working to break the cycle of poverty?
Absolutely. So this organization, Jeremiah's program, it's been around for 25 years. And what they do is some of our campuses we refer to as residential campuses. So when you think about all of the things that you would put in place to help disrupt poverty, our organization provides it. So for some of our residential campuses, that means we provide housing at a deeply discounted rate. We provide resources for single moms to be able to attend school, post-secondary education. And then we also provide high quality early childhood education, having an early childhood center on site so that moms can have, the young people can also get the best start possible for their education. And so all of those things, in addition to some other programs that we offer, all of those things, we believe if we support our single mothers and their children, it sets them on a path to not only overcome poverty, but never to return.
And you said this is not in DC, so where is it?
It is Baltimore, Rochester, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Austin, Texas, Las Vegas, and Boston. I said Boston, yeah.
It's a little bit like throwing darts at a man. Baltimore, Rochester, Minnesota, Texas.
Yeah, I think it represents America, right? And like the different cities and communities in America. And so I would say that the organization is really working to not just figure out how to dismantle poverty in urban settings, but we're in rural populations, et cetera. We're trying to figure that out.
And roughly how many families?
This year, we're on target to serve 250 families across the country.
Across the country. So each of these centers is small.
Yes.
And I assume that when there's a family in the program, it's more than 1 year.
Oh, absolutely. The mothers remain a part of the program through their duration of their post-secondary education. So that's anywhere from 4 to 5 years that they remain connected to us. And then they move into our very robust alumni network.
I might have some more questions, but let me turn to my colleague, Councilman Sherman.
Thank you very much, Chairman Mendelson. It is great to see you, Shukurat. It's been at least a decade since we first met, and you talk about your commitment to education and to your commitment to children. That's what our first conversation was about, and you have spent years in that work, and very grateful to you for all of the work that you've done, and clearly a great addition to the Public Charter School Board. I mostly came to say hello and also for the UDC thing, but now this conversation carries me back to, what might have been on the table in our first conversations, which, as you know, I'm a longtime advocate for the importance of a successful matter of rights system in every community, from pre-K through high school where families know they can live where they live and they have a school that they have a matter of right to. They may choose something different. Very often they'll choose something different, but that we have an obligation to provide that kind of system. It's not what the public charter school board is about, but there's an interplay between the public charter school system and the matter of right system. And I'm just curious whether you see that as a priority, having an excellent matter of right system in every community, whether you share that priority, even if that's not the express mission of the public charter sector.
Thank you, Councilmember Freeman. It's always exciting to see folks from back in the day, if you will. So I think for me, what I think is really just important to me is to have high quality schools in the district, right? And so I believe that families can make whatever decisions that they want to make on behalf of their students and fashion their own sort of matter of right system, if you will, right? My role and my passion is to make sure that we have high quality schools in every part of the city so that families can make whatever choices that they want to make. And so that's kind of how I see that in the interplay there.
You know, so this is just playing out an argument that plays out in lots of different places,
Sure.
but actually matter of right is very different. There's a difference between having a right to go to a school that's near you and having a lottery access to it. So, I mean, this is a thing, and I have a lot of back and forth with the charter sector, which I think plays a very, very important role on the landscape of our education system. But I do think it's critically important that we have a successful matter of right system. And sometimes I worry, and sometimes you see this, you know, the deputy mayor has sent letters to the public charter school board at different times, not while you've been on there, urging not opening new schools because of the impact that it might have on both the matter of right system and the charter schools, where enrollment is a different kind of challenge today than it had been in earlier times. I'm curious how you see that when you're going to have 7 renewals come up. I don't know whether or not you're going to have new applications come forward. How do you see the evaluation of different proposals in the context of what today looks like oversupply, which drives up the cost of education for everyone? So I'm showing you what I think, but
Sure.
I'm curious what you think.
Yep. So I think, and I was really fortunate in my first year to actually, we had a school that applied. And I think there are a couple of things that are really clear and important. Number one, holding any school, current schools or new schools, to the standards outlined in the School Reform Act. That's first and foremost. And I will stand by that. I will, in my role, I plan to do that. But secondly, I think schools being able to demonstrate, particularly new schools, demonstrate the need for their particular program in the particular part of the city. That is also something that in this past year, I had a lot of strong questions about, if you were to go back into the hearing, wanting to make sure that it wasn't, again, it was, so that school was also set up for success if they were to be approved, and to also make sure that it's a part of what families were looking for and what's interested, and what's needed in that particular part of the city. And so I will continue to do that. We'll continue to ask those questions just to make sure. At the end of the day, I see my this appointment, my work in DC, the fact that I also am a parent and I have nieces, nephews, all kind of folk here who I've worked with for my entire life. It's more than just doing a job. It's more than just executing. This is real life. And so as a result of that, I really take that seriously, and I plan to ensure that it makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, can I just go for, and then I'm going to call it a day. So, I mean, I think you're a terrific asset for the Public Charter School Board, and glad to see you stay on in that role. There's a little tension, I think, between my perspective and some of the other perspectives, but I'm very excited about the idea of working with you going forward. I do think, and this is personal opinion, that I didn't expect to be talking about it today, that we need to be thinking about the systems more holistically and figuring out how they fit together so that our education investments achieve all of our goals and we don't spread the money so thinly and And I believe that an element of that is ensuring a great matter of right system in every community. So that is going to call for choices going forward. And it's not so much to try to persuade you of that now, but here we are and just have a little back and forth, and wanted to put that on the table as a thing that I think is very important. And I think many residents of the District of Columbia think is important as well. So
May I respond really briefly and I'll turn it?
then I have to decide whether I let you have the last word, but yes.
I didn't know it was a poly. Okay.
Well, if you
Um,
don't let her respond, I will, sorry.
Well, I appreciate that. And I thank you again for sharing the perspective and bubbling that up. I think to your point, it is important to so many Washingtonians. But I will say this, as someone who grew up in this system, and I clearly remember what it was before charters were implemented, and looking at it now and thinking about it for my daughter, I will say this. How it works out in the future and the future of the DC ecosystem is yet to be determined. But what is clear is that having choice and creating opportunities for innovation and for school leaders and school administrators to create innovative approaches to education has drastically improved our education system. And I remember what it was to what it is today. And so whatever it is and whatever it looks like going forward, I just want to name that it's going to be important to create space for parents to choose what they think is right for their child, but then also to create space for innovation so that every child can access education in the way that makes most sense for them.
So thank you for that. And then I'll be done. What it is that's driven improvement in the system is the thing, to the extent that there's been improvement, and in some places there hasn't been anything like the kind of improvement that we would like to see. That's a subject of debate, and I think that the charter sector plays a really, really important role. It's just a question of how they all fit together, and it could be, just goes on, and who knows how it lands. But I think that it's important that we be strategic, because if we go down the wrong path, then we're going to land where the river takes us as opposed to where we want it to go. And I think that it's important that we work together and have a conversation like this kind of conversation going forward, so that we get to a place where parents have choices. Absolutely, parents have to have choices, where there's tons of space for innovation, but where we also have people in every part of the city who feel like, I don't have to rely on a lottery. There is a great option for me, lottery, without having to be in the lottery. So I'm going to try that to be my last word and then leave.
You're welcome to have the last word if you want.
Chairman Mendelson, but you got to know when to fold them, I think they say.
I do not have any other questions for you. I do want to reiterate that I was hoping to put you before the council this coming Tuesday, but the notice requirements preclude that. So if there's anything more you want to submit, or anybody who's watching this hearing wants to submit comments, you're welcome to do so. We'll probably take this up at our first meeting in September, which I think is Tuesday, the 19th. That's when we'll try to take it up. You have been holding over, I think, since February. So this creates an awkward gap, because I think you can't hold over past like August 23rd.
August 22nd.
August 22nd, Leah?
August 22nd.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's what I think the date is. Yeah.
Which is why I was hoping that we could act by now. And I think the board will be down to 4 people. But if we act quickly in September, it'll be up to 5. And then there's one other nomination that we'll take up with a hearing in September or early October. So that's the process. Thank you very much for your service, and thank you for your willingness to continue serving.
Thank you all.
With that, this hearing is, I'm going to bring this hearing to a close. This has been a hearing on 2 measures. The PR 25-317, the employment contract for Dr. Maurice D. Eddington as president of the University of the District of Columbia, Emergency Act or Approval Act of 2023, that will come before the council this coming Tuesday, and PR 25-299, Public Charter School Board, Shukurat Adamofanayan, confirmation resolution of 2023. And with that, the time is 12:05 and this hearing or roundtable is adjourned.
Thank you.